All right. We have one more topic for the evening,
Can you dig it?
which is the old version of the topic. It is, what do you think about? Specifically, what do you think about content creation or being a content creator?
It's terrible. You shouldn't do it. Stressful.
Well,
It's great, man.
So a lot of kids these days, when you ask them what they want to be when they grow up, they're like, I want to be a YouTuber. And so I guess, what do you, does Sam say that to you? I mean, he said he wants to start a YouTube channel with your squatch hunting.
Yep.
What do you tell him?
I tell him it's the hardest job on the planet. Because that's the truth. It's one of the hardest jobs. I'm gonna get yelled at by like doctors and surgeons and stuff. It is one of the hardest jobs, and not because it's hard, because it's all self-motivated. It takes 80 plus hours a week, if minimum, to like every 10 seconds of video is an hour and a half of work. So I tell him the truth. I'm like, you can certainly pursue this, because I remember being a kid and wanting to develop video games, or being interested in that. But everybody said, well, you can't do that. That's like for 8 people on the whole planet. You gotta be really smart. I've made like 4 games now, and I'm not going to discourage his passion for making stuff. Like, I let him go, and I don't let him stream, but I let him record his game playing and talking to a microphone. And he's got such good charisma. I'm obviously his dad, so I'm a little biased, but he's got good charisma. I'm like, he could do it if he really set his mind to it. And I don't want to discourage him. So yeah, I say it's great. I'm like, we got to have some rules around it when you get old enough to be doing this stuff, because people are creepy and weird, and the internet's a sketchy place.
Yep.
You got to set up guardrails, because I care about my kids' safety. But like, I think it's not a bad thing to consider. I think you just got to go in knowing what it's gonna take. And I've told him, like, what are you gonna do? What's your business plan? He's 8. But he knows. He's like, I want to review mods, and I want to do it in a way that other kids can watch, because a lot of the videos about mods on certain games he can't watch because the people have such filthy language and stuff.
Yep.
So regardless of how you feel about that, that's the way I am. I'd rather him not watch stuff with tons of bombs and stuff in it where they aren't necessary. So his whole model is like, I want to do stuff so 5 to 10-year-olds could watch it and could see what a mod is, and I could tell their parents, okay, this is suitable for ages 12 to 18, or this is suitable for 4 to 6. Yeah, it's really cool. I'm like, that's actually really well thought out, bud.
It's way more thought out than a lot of content creators.
Right?
He's good, man. He's good.
Yeah, and my boys, they're 11 and 9, and they're like, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up. And so whenever they mention it, I always bring them back to a specific example of a YouTuber. I don't know if you've ever watched Hermitcraft. They're Minecraft YouTubers, and there's one guy in particular. His name, he goes by the handle Impulse SV.
Mm-hmm.
And Impulse was a programmer long before he was a YouTuber, and he was doing YouTube for 10 years before he went full-time YouTube. And so I tell them, I'm like, you've got to have a way to make money while you're building up your audience.
Yeah.
And I mentioned, I'm like, this guy was a programmer. He had a full career. He then went to part-time, and then he went to as a part-time as a programmer, went to part-time, and then now is a full-time YouTube creator. But before that, he worked, I think it was for Intel. I could be wrong on that, but I think he was working for Intel. And so I'm like, I said, I'm like, pursue your passion, but just know it's basically going to be a second job that you don't get paid for a long time while you're building up your audience and building up your technical skills. Because a lot of kids, they look at it as, oh, I can just record myself playing a video game and post it and make money. Well, that doesn't work for 99.99999% of people. You have to learn a lot about editing. You have to learn a lot about not just video editing, but graphic editing for your thumbnails. You have to learn about SEO. You have to learn about the ever-changing YouTube algorithm and how to leverage it to your advantage. And there's so many different hats that you have to wear to be a successful YouTuber.
Yeah.
And
Not to mention mental fortitude.
Yes.
Because it is you got to be pretty sure of who you are and what you stand for and what you're going to let bother you to put your face on the internet. I worry about that more than anything.
Well, and you don't necessarily have to put your face on the internet.
VTubers, yeah, they got that.
Or just there's like I'm Hermitcraft. They're one of the most successful Minecraft YouTube collaborators. They all play on a server together. There's several of them that have never shown their face.
Yeah.
And so you can do it. Mm-hmm. You can stay anonymous if that's what you so choose, but then there's aspects of that are going to be detrimental because people want to see your face. And then once you do reveal your face, it's like, oh, that's what you look like.
Right. Yeah. Like, oh.
Right. And so I try to rein them in to realism while also encouraging them. And so I'm like, look, on a Saturday, if I'm still learning how to edit videos, but I can teach you what I've learned so far and we can learn stuff together. And so, yeah, I got OBS onto their computers so they can record stuff and I teach them little bits here and there. They haven't posted anything, but learning those skills now will help them if they actually want to seriously pursue it.
I think that look, my kids are both adults at this point, and so, and I worked in the video game industry for a little over 20 years, and my son in particular, my oldest, grew up in the video game industry quite literally. I mean, he would come in to help beta test some things when he was small, because when I was working at Hasbro, we were doing video games based on the Tonka license and things like that. So when he grew older, he wanted to major in video games, and frankly, nowadays the colleges have those majors, and so he did. And he has proceeded to do nothing with it. In fact, he's basically on his way to becoming a full-fledged butcher. Really.
Okay.
So all of that is the one thing that I don't think is really content creator specific, but how we talk to our kids about what they want to do is just say, hey, this is really cool. The really cool aspect of things, content creation. Look, I've been doing, it's content creation of a sort, but I've been doing voiceover now for about 10 years or so. And just now I'm getting to the point where if I put my full weight into it, I could work as a part-time job doing it. Like I'm making enough after 10 years because there's an aspect of luck that's involved and an aspect of the back end, not fun, really hard work stuff that nobody likes doing. But if you want to succeed in whatever you want to do, you got to be willing to put in the hard work. And that's the work that sucks. It's just not good. It's not fun. Nobody wants to do it. But if you want to actually, like, if your kids want to, become a YouTuber, do cool content, and make lots of money, two out of three of those are really easy. The other one, the make lots of money thing, requires a lot of work, as you guys know. And that's the place where the rubber meets the road and where people don't want to do the work or don't know how to do the work, which requires more education, which is way more difficult. And frankly, where most people don't want to deal with it. I just want to do what I do. Cool. You can do that too.
Yeah.
Just don't expect a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
That's when you got to determine what your goal is in being a content creator.
right.
Is your goal to make it a job that make a livable wage at? That's
Right.
not my goal with content creation. Or is it just the creation itself? Like, Wise and Nerdy is a creative avenue for me. It isn't a money making thing. Like, yeah, I don't make hardly anything off of this. Most podcasters don't.
Right.
Charles promised me a good $100 for this appearance, so I don't know what you guys are making.
Way less than that.
That's like 3 months of our Patreon pay.
Nice. Yeah. So what, here's the, like, I work a full-time day job, and I do voiceover and I do podcasting and stuff on the side. My goal, and I've told my boss this flat out, my goal is to quit the company because I'm making enough money with my voice to sustain myself. I'm not there. I don't know if I'll ever be there, but that's just something I constantly work towards. Now, the level of work that takes is limited because I have a limit to the amount of time that I have.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think largely podcasting and things like that are largely a creative outlet for me. What's really weird is I'm now at the point where, because I've been doing TikTok and Instagram for a while now, doing the fat guy and now fit guy stuff. And I am now really looking more seriously into how do I expand my audience. Because I've got a decent amount of followers, but not anything to make any money on. I mean, nothing close at all. But my intent isn't so much to make the money, but to increase the range of the message.
Yeah.
And so that's right now my bigger concern. Which I know is a little further afield than, what are we talking about for content creation. But I think we went down the road with the kids. And I think that's, it really all comes back down to, you can do all of this stuff that you want, but just understand there's a sucky part of it. And you just have to, if you're willing to do that, that's cool. That's great. And you probably can be a success, but it's a lot of work and a lot more than anybody knows. Right. So, and success is a mix of hard work and luck. No question about it. I mean, honestly, when I got into the video game industry, I was 19 years old and it was 1986. There were very few companies to speak of, and those of us who played video games were very niche. I mean, it was just, there weren't a lot of people doing that. And so I lucked into it. I was the first full-time tester for a company and lucked into a career. I would not hire me today if I was still managing groups in video game industry, because too many people have way more experience now.
Yeah. It's a crowded field.
It's a really crowded field and a terrible business. Just the way the employees are treated now. It was bad when I was in it. It got worse. So you can go down that road, but just be prepared that you're probably going to need to work a second job at the very least, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my wife always joked that my wife and I both joked that I Forrest Gumped my way into my career. Just like I was in college, they funneled people from there into a contracting position. I mean, I interviewed well, so I some of it was my own effort. And then once I got in, I'm not that great of an interviewer, but I'm a real good worker and I'm real fast at learning stuff. So it's like, I just try to hang on to whatever job I've got because I'm like, I never want to interview again. If I could just avoid it at all costs.
There's something to be said for that, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, like, one of the things that I told my son when he was interviewing for, and to do the meat cutter thing and eventually, like, he's working at an Air Force base now, basically cutting meat for their commissary. But I said, if anybody says to you, hey, does anybody want to do this? You say yes.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
just say yes. And because one, you're going to find that nowadays, not a lot of people are saying yes. So you will stand out and they'll start looking at you. And he's been getting promotions and that whole thing. And look, the other thing is, dude, you got a government job. As long as you don't royally screw this up, you're good.
Yeah.
Like, just hang in. Yeah. So,
as someone who has worked for the government, that is unbelievably true.
yep.
Yeah, and
Yep.
you can say yes to everything until you can say no. Some more. Like
Right,
get where you
right.
want and then start picking and choosing. Build that reputation of like the person who's willing to do it when it needs done.
Right.
And really I just tell people the Mr. Rogers keys to success. Number 1, be kind. Number 2, be kind. Number 3, be kind. It's really all it takes, and you'll be fine. Like, know what you're doing to some degree, but be great to work with.
Yes.
We have gone into career advice beyond content creation.
That's the other thing about Wise and Nerdy. We go off on these tangents.
We have a lot of wisdom to share. I mean, that's what the name of the game is.
That's right.